TravelSites.com presents rookie mistakes that 97% of travelers make. Now, I'm not ashamed to admit that when I first started traveling, I made some mistakes. Most of them were simple, careless errors, but they caused some disappointment and I lost some money too. I felt a little better when I learned that even the most experienced traveler still has an oversight now and again. If you want your next trip to be memorable for the right reasons, read these rookie travel mistakes and try to prevent as many mishaps as possible. Even if you come across an unexpected snafu, you'll be prepared on how to deal with it by learning from what other travelers have gone through. These tips are sure to save you some time, some money, and more than a few headaches. First of all, check your passport. In 1990, only 4% of Americans had a valid passport. By 2018, more than 42% of Americans had one. Now that's a significant jump, but it's still fairly low compared to other countries. For example, over 80% of British citizens have a passport and travel overseas. And though most of us think that having a valid passport is enough for traveling abroad, there are actually some rules and regulations you need to follow. U.S. passport holders have visa-free access to 174 countries and can usually get a visit visa on arrival to many other destinations. That being said, going to countries such as Russia or India include a more extensive visa application process that can take weeks, if not months. Make sure you understand the visa process for every country you're going to visit. Another point to consider is that many countries may not let you in unless your passport is valid for at least 6 months. China requires that your passport be valid for 6 months past the date of your return flight. Make sure you know how long your passport is valid for, okay? That way you won't create any unnecessary complications in your trip. While talking about documentation, it's important to make copies of other important documents as well. I once lost my credit card in the middle of a trip and didn't know the customer service number. Thank you, Google. And even my credit card number. The customer service rep took an extra half an hour confirming my identity since I couldn't verify my credit card number. Loss or theft of important documents or money can turn a vacation into a nightmare, but having photocopies can make it significantly easier to deal with. Pack printed copies of your passport, visa, credit cards, itinerary, hotel bookings, and any other necessary information and keep it with you in a safe place. Leave another set with a trusted friend or family member back home. And finally, email yourself e-copies of these documents or upload them to a secured cloud so that if you lose everything, you can still access it from any computer. Local customs and cultural norms are very important in the countries you're visiting, and being unaware of them may cause you some problems. Nothing is worse than being in a foreign country and unknowingly offending their residents. For example, if you use your left hand to eat or give money, it's considered disrespectful in parts of Asia and the Middle East, and tipping is considered insulting in Japan. Here's some key advice. First of all, do your homework and research a place before you get there. Don't just assume that everyone speaks English everywhere. Learn some key phrases. And wear appropriate attire when visiting religious sites. Finally, always be respectful of local culture and etiquette. Remember, you're a guest in their home. Mistakes with money can give you quite a headache. The first one is usually done within minutes of landing, and that's exchanging your money at the airport. Everything is more expensive at airports, and that includes exchanging money. You'll get better rates by buying local currency at your hotel or a bank. So exchange just enough at the airport to cover transportation to your hotel and save the rest for later. Another option is to purchase foreign currency before you fly from your local bank. The exchange rates may not be as good as the one you'll get at the hotel, but it's definitely better than what they'll give you at the airport. Again, just take enough to get to the hotel from the airport. In addition to making the most of your money, another thing to keep in mind is your budget. With exchange rates and credit card use, it's easy to lose track of exactly how much you're spending while you're having fun. Those few extra beers or that souvenir you just had to have can all add up. Create a realistic budget and stick to it. If you're traveling for an extended amount of time, keep an eye on your checking account back home and make sure you can cover your usual expenses like rent and utility bills that may be on autopay. And another money mistake you can make is not telling your bank that you're leaving town. To protect you and themselves, banks are often very cautious about transactions that are made far away from your hometown. If they find it peculiar that you're swiping your card on the other side of the world, they may decline your transaction, or even worse, block your card altogether. Having your card canceled due to unusual activity is a real hassle. I once had the additional burden of having to pay an outrageous roaming fee for my cell phone to call the bank to work out the problem. Notify the bank of all the countries you're visiting beforehand so they know that it's you. An additional piece of advice: check your foreign transaction fee before swiping your card. Many credit cards don't have a fee, but if they do, you could waste hundreds of dollars. Now, there's a very low chance that you'll be taking a direct flight from your home airport to your international destination. So watch out for the connecting flights. They can be a real nuisance, but what would make it even worse is not keeping enough time between your flights and missing one of them, even after you run from one side of the airport to the other. I've missed a couple of flights in my lifetime, and let me tell you, it's not fun. That being said, I did meet some fantastic airline reps who were able to put me on the next flight with no problem. Give yourself a couple hours so you can get to your gate on time, have a snack, stretch your legs, and get ready before your flight arrives. Don't forget about your cell phone. If you're new to international travel, exorbitant roaming charges from your cell phone carrier can catch you off guard. Most of the major American carriers don't have additional charges for calls or data used within the US, Mexico, or Canada. But if you're going anywhere else, be prepared for a high phone bill when you get back. Make sure your carrier is operable and offers coverage in your destination. Even if they do, the better option might be to swap out your SIM card for a local one to avoid expensive roaming fees altogether. Now you're getting on that plane, you need to know what you can take with you. Know what you can and can't take on the plane. When it comes to alcohol, you can place it in your check-in luggage as long as it's less than 140 proof at 70% alcohol. You can carry it in your carry-on luggage only if it's a 100 milliliter bottle or less. There are several other restrictions as well, such as carrying any liquids over 100 milliliters in your carry-on. This can make it difficult to take perfumes or other toiletries with you if you're not checking in luggage. Read the baggage restrictions of the airline you're flying so you don't end up having your things confiscated or having to leave them in the airport. Now, one thing that discourages me is when I travel to exotic new places, I travel with people that don't want to try the new food. They spend their time searching for pizzas and burgers for every meal. Now, it's okay to be cautious and wary of new foods, but don't miss out on the opportunity to indulge in delicious local cuisine. It's a great way to understand the lay of the land and to interact with the locals. And I mean, that's why we're traveling, right? To get the experience. Another thing to keep in mind is that most local restaurants aren't always familiar with preparing international cuisine, so the ingredients they might have on hand might not be fresh, and their methods might not always be correct. You're usually better off to try eating something local that the local cooks excel in cooking. Now, the last thing you want to do is take a bunch of photographs and not come home with them. It's always great to share your adventures with your friends. That's why you want to be sure to back up all your pictures from your camera's memory card. I used to transfer the images to a USB drive, but then I got worried about losing it or having it stolen, and so I started uploading all my photographs to a cloud-based storage site. In addition to your camera, you're going to pack a few other things, but don't take too many. One of the most common rookie travel mistakes is overpacking. It seems like you may need several pairs of jeans, a couple comfy t-shirts, fancy tops for the cocktail dress, 3 pairs of shoes, including those 5-inch heels that you bought but have never worn. But believe me, you don't need them all. You're not going to wear most of them, and you'll just end up with an overstuffed bag with no extra space to store your souvenirs. When it comes to travel, less is more. Pack versatile clothing you can mix and match to create different outfits. Check the weather of your destination and make sure you have suitable pieces that you'll use during your trip. Make it a rule to always pack half of what you think you need, because you can always do laundry, which comes to the next point. Many people don't think about laundry when they're going on vacation. If you're not staying at a fancy hotel with laundry service or a homestay with a washer and dryer, you're going to have to plan this properly so that you have clothes to wear during your entire stay. Make a rough estimate of how long your clothes will last you, and then determine when you need to find a laundromat in that area. Keep in mind that most laundromats in foreign countries don't offer self-service. It's usually a drop-off situation that can take a couple of days. If you're going to be camping or hiking in the middle of nowhere, you may want to invest in a portable laundry wash bag, which will let you wash your clothes anywhere, and you don't even need electricity. And the last thing on the list that really confounds me, how can you go on a vacation without interacting with the locals? When you're traveling with another person or a group, it's easy to go your entire trip without really talking to anyone else. You use your guidebooks and the internet to choose attractions and activities to visit, and even though that can be exciting, you don't experience the heart and soul of a place, which is its people. There are so many easy ways to meet locals and get to know them. You may have a language barrier, but if you have a friendly approach, you'll find a way to communicate with each other. Start with a simple conversation with your taxi driver, or head to a bar or cafe and start chatting with other patrons. I guarantee this will make some of the fondest memories of your adventure abroad. Did we forget anything in the rookie mistakes that you know travelers do? Leave us a comment below and let us know what you think about it. Like always, this video is brought to you by travelsites.com, which helps to get you the cheapest and best travel experience. Don't forget to like and subscribe to find more useful travel tips and exciting places for your next travel venture.